We're thundering towards the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Brainerd from right here in Minnesota at Brainerd International Raceway. It's time for Mission King of the Baggers race number 2. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time world champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, Mission King of the Baggers yesterday was a little bit weird, especially when Tyler O'Hara went out early.
Man, there was some really strange things that happened. The thing with Tyler O'Hara, watching him right off the edge of the racetrack was scary. Just glad to see he was okay. But yeah, we seem to have attrition in this class. It always seems to jumble up our points, and yesterday was more of the same.
Let's take a look at race 1 highlights and get you up to speed on what happened yesterday.
And you're going to see here right from the bat, our pole sitter didn't get off to the best start. And you see these two, Kyle Wyman and James Rispoli, clanking bags as they go through turn 1. Tyler O'Hara looked like he had this race pretty well in hand with Hayden Gillum giving chase. Bobby Fong came from a long way back as you see him slotting in here into third. Now this was the scary part. Tyler O'Hara has a bike that looks like it's locked up. He rolls off the track. Hayden Gillum keeps going. Tyler O'Hara would eventually just dump the bike on the ground. Hayden Gillum wins the race, albeit leaking a little bit of oil. As we saw late in that race, Bobby Fong fell back because he was getting some oil on his motorcycle.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a minute, but taking a look at the numbers. So the points difference right here, Jay, as you can see, it's just a couple of points between Kyle Wyman and James Rispoli, with Wyman being able to stay on top of this thing. But you're right, you talked about it, this championship points battle is snug, and this race is going to be very important for the championship. But it's Brainerd International Raceway, which they have to get around this circuit. Jay, tell us about it.
Yeah, fast turn 1 and 2, down into turn 3, Greg. Then we got these switchbacks, but I think that the key here is these big, heavy motorcycles that continue to improve in their performance year in and year out. From that carousel all the way to turn 13 is very, very physical. And so from that last corner, you want to be able to rip to that checkered flag, and hopefully you're the first one there.
It can generate exciting racing. Well, last year's winner, Bobby Fong, is looking for a better start and an oil-free visor in his quest to notch his second win of the season.
Mission King of the Baggers coverage is brought to you by Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By Geico. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson and custom V-twin motorcycles.
Back here, Brainerd International Raceway, Lucas Oil helicopter shots, looking overhead at the paddock and some of the racetrack. A beautiful backdrop for us to show you Bobby Fong, Tyler O'Hara, and Kyle Wyman on row 1.
Row 2 is going to be Rispoli and Hayden Gillum, who actually got docked a few positions for that yesterday, and Jake Lewis, we'll get into that in a little bit. Osorg, McWilliams, and Travis Wyman. West Flinders and Danny Eslick on row 4, and then back in the back, Frank Garcia and Patricia Fernandez.
There you go, and yeah, some oil stuff situation from yesterday's race before Hayden Gillum relegates him to row number 2 in the middle. Jason, not sure if it's going to affect him that much. Hayden Gillum has been absolutely on fire this weekend.
Yeah, he really has been, and speaking with him this morning, he didn't seem too concerned about it. Tyler O'Hara is the guy, I think, you know, looking at what happened to him yesterday, he was pretty primed to try to get Indy in a win up here. And Hayden was talking to me about how quick Tyler was. And then obviously when Tyler went out, it made it a little bit easier. But Gillum's on a roll. He's had a great weekend so far. He's coming from the middle of that second row. His teammates just off to the left of him. The guy I think is the big winner in this is obviously Kyle Wyman. He gets promoted up to the front row. So the points leader up on the front row, and the two guys chasing him are on the row number 2.
Yeah, in warm-up this morning, Kyle Wyman showed some promise in terms of increase in speed. 9-lap Mission King of the Baggers race number 2. As you're going to hear these motorcycles go to full song. Clutches are out, and we're away racing, and another really good start from the number 1 plate, Tyler O'Hara, on that factory Indian motorcycle, and Bobby Fong slots right in behind him. And there's James Rispoli on the 43 and Kyle Wyman on the 33 behind him.
Yeah, Bobby just hit yesterday, was so far back early, so this is going to be really good for him. Now keep in mind, he just came off of a superbike as well, so he's going to take a shot early as Rispoli has got the thing sideways into 3. There was a lot happening there, but Fong was going down the inside of O'Hara. I don't think he's going to make this pass stick, or is he, Greg? He's going to go down the outside now of O'Hara, so you got 2 Indians at the front. The factory one in second place is Wyman now. Looks like he's trying to get a little bit closer to do something with Rispoli.
Thank goodness that Tyler O'Hara was so fast through that corner that Rispoli didn't collect him when he couldn't get that motorcycle slowed down.
Hayden Gillum just in the back goes underneath McWilliams. McWilliams is another rider yesterday that didn't actually finish this race. We saw him out immediately, so McWilliams gets back to 6th place, Gillum up to 5th. So now you got these guys, they're going to come by our speed camera here. Here they come, and it's Bobby Fong still. This is where these bikes, Greg, are so heavy in that little area there. Look at Rispoli already having a look down the inside, and Tyler O'Hara. They go through this fast right. Rispoli's got the run on that Indian.
Bobby Fong looking good in that Sac Mile STI Racing Roland Sands Indian Challenger. And Rispoli going up the inside there. Nice line. He'll take over the spot. So 2nd place for the 43 Rispoli on the Vance & Hines Mission Harley-Davidson Road Glide.
Yeah, and for James right now, he's been working hard on trying to just get more comfortable with that bike, turning into the turns and finishing the corners a little bit better. That was something he struggled with yesterday. You know, the big tell will be down here in turn 3. Yesterday, watching the race back, he was turning in some 30-40 yards earlier than most. He couldn't take it to a spot further down the track and tip it in as O'Hara has a big moment there, as well as his bike snaps back in. That's going to give a spot to Gillum, who had already worked his way past Kyle Wyman as well. Watch these bikes bucking and brocking as they exit that last corner, Greg.
Yeah, so for the number 1 plate, things aren't going according to plan at the moment. Luckily for Indian Motorcycles, you have Bobby Fong out front with that Challenger, setting the pace as Rispoli trying to close the gap. And keep in mind, we always are looking at the championship where Rispoli's only 2 points behind Kyle Wyman. And Wyman back behind Rispoli a couple places for the moment as we look for the 33 to charge forward. We just haven't seen the Kyle Wyman magic this weekend that we've seen a lot this year. Now let's get in the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, who's got some stuff on Bobby Fong.
You know, Bobby Fong's got a lot of confidence here, considering he won last year and he was pretty successful in qualifying and the challenge. You know, I talked to him and he said the bike is pretty similar to yesterday. They had lowered it in order to get it to turn a little bit better, but he was dragging the bike on certain sections of the track, and so they raised it back up. It's not scraping anywhere, and it makes it harder to turn, but that was a concession he was willing to make. He does have a tall order just coming off the super bike, and he said it's kind of hard to change mindsets there. And you know, Hayden Gillum just raced in that super bike race, as well as Max Linders.
Yeah, I mean, these are 620-pound motorcycles, Jason, and they're going to have different braking markers and acceleration places than a superbike, Medallia superbike. And these things don't have traction control either, so there's just huge differences.
Everything's a little bit different, and when you say 620 pounds, it's kind of hard not to smile about that because of the sheer speed that they're going around the track, Greg. 35.9 that last time by. Bobby Fong's going to be a hard man to catch here. We saw him win at this track last year, and especially after coming right off that superbike, he's going to get on this bike and want to charge forward as Hayden Gillum shoots down the inside of his teammate in turn 6. He's going to make that pass stick on that Vance & Hines Harley. He's going to have his eyes set forward now. He's had a lot of pace, Greg, all weekend long. We've seen him, as we've said, in Stock 1000, on this bagger, and in Superbike, having a tremendous weekend. Tyler O'Hara also is not letting these two Vance & Hines Harley get out of his sights too quickly either.
Yeah, there's definitely no team orders this late in their late in the season for the Vance & Hines team. I'm sure Terry Vance is like, hey, go race it up. Because for Hayden Gillum, he's also locked dead step in this championship with his teammate Rispoli, as Gillum's only 6 points behind Kyle Wyman. So it's all or nothing for this team as the number 1, just trying to get race wins, especially he would like to be the Indian Motorcycle Factory rider that puts Indian on the top step of the podium, not Bobby Fong. But Fong just goes 1:35.638, fastest lap of the race so far for Fong. Boy, that is a tough argument. Nobody able to reel in Fong right now, as he was quite a bit faster than the rest of the field.
Let's see what Gillum does now with an open track and see if he can close down this gap to Bobby Fong. If I know Rispoli, he's gonna respect the fact that it's his teammate in front of him, and he's not gonna mess with Hayden too much with the hopes that maybe Hayden can pull them forward as well. And he's going to see +0 on his board, Will Rispoli, so he's going to know it's either probably O'Hara or Kyle Wyman, as we see Travis Wyman pull the second of the factory Harley-Davidsons into the pits with a problem. So for Travis Wyman, another frustrating weekend on the bagger.
That's too bad to see. Back to the lead group we go, and boy, that 79 Hayden Gillum, Jason, this is his 7th race of the weekend. He's done 2 Medallia Superbike, 2 stock 1,000 races.
Yeah.
And this is really, I guess, would you say 2.5? Maybe?
Yeah, it feels like it.
2.5 races. They had the challenge race earlier on, and then the full-blown Mission King of the Baggers.
Yeah, the challenge race, and you see how well Hayden got through that chicane. Pulled an immediate 3 or 4 gaps on Rispoli there behind him. So for Gillum, I'm watching the splits right now. He's not really closing up at all on the back of Bobby Fong. Bobby Fong, once he gets out in front and he can run a clear track, as are most of these riders, especially at the level that they are all riding at, they just go out there and try to race the track and do the consistency thing as much as they can. 35.6 for Bobby Fong. So even though the next 3 behind him in 2nd, 3rd, 4th all run their personal best, Bobby Fong continues to stretch it out now, Greg, to 1.5 seconds.
And that's what Hayden Gillum's doing, is he's trying to drag this group up to Bobby Fong, but Fong, without looking behind him, just keeps answering the call. And it looks like there's a meatball flag out.
Meatball flag for somebody, so
it looks like could be Max Flinders, number 88, who's in 11th place. That's the word we're getting about that flag. Rispoli just doesn't look as tidy as his teammate through the corners right now.
Yeah, him and O'Hara both seem to be getting bucked up out of the seat quite a bit, and this is what the flag was for just now.
Oh, yeah.
Some smoke coming out the back of that bike. So they warning the rider to try to get that thing off the track as quickly as we can.
All right, but Bobby Fong with a 1.5 second lead over Gillum, Rispoli, and O'Hara. And all eyes on Kyle Wyman back there in 5th spot, and he is back there.
So weird to me, and I talked to Kyle last night, and he was just saying, he's like, I don't know what it is. He's like, I'm trying everything that we've been trying to do, and you know, but right now he's just got to go into full championship like mode and just try to get out of here with the points that he can get out of here with. And it looks like Hayden Gillum, let's see if this is it got closed down at all, Greg. 1.5 again, so they basically did the exact same laps. 35.8 for both Bobby Fong and Gillum, 36.2 for Rispoli. As you can see, that gap just opened up a little bit, but for Gillum and Rispoli, this is a big weekend for them, where they've really closed that gap down in the championship, and we might even see a change at the top over Kyle Wyman.
Not a ton of races left in this season for Mission King of the Baggers after this race weekend. Lucas Oil helicopter shot showing Bobby Fong. A good overhead shot of that Sac Mile STI Racing Roland Sands Indian Challenger. And a good look at that gap. So from the overhead shot, that's what 1.5 seconds looks like. Back to Hayden Gillum, who's Rispoli, he's trying to get up there and get with his teammate. All the while, Tyler O'Hara still hounding him. But that's been a bit of an accordion, Jason, as O'Hara's dropped back in certain sections and reels Rispoli back in for the final spot on the podium.
It's that slinky effect, isn't it? Like one's better in one spot and one's better in another. And if you watch it, O'Hara kind of is able to reel James in certain spots. That's the best James has gone through there that we've seen from this shot. He really kind of cleaned that nicely and pulled away from O'Hara ever so slightly. So, you know, there's the gaps that we can see all at the front. Now, if you stay on the shot just for a minute, you might see Kyle Wyman. There he is, just coming into the screen in the back. But that's how big of a difference that is to where Kyle Wyman is at the moment.
So another lap in the books. So it's 3 to go in Mission King of the Baggers race number 2 here at Brainerd International Raceway. There's a look at Kyle Wyman. And behind him is Jeremy McWilliams. And McWilliams just did his personal best lap of the race, matching Wyman. They're 137.1s, while the leader's going 135.4 as Bobby Fong just set the fastest lap of the race again.
It's just so wild because, You know, we're used to seeing both Kyle Wyman and Jeremy McWilliams. I know Jeremy, talking to him the other day, they've struggled a little bit this year on the factory Indian, and but you know, look at Bobby Fong sliding this thing and having fun doing it. But for Kyle Wyman, unusual not to see him up in the top 3 or 4 spots. And but let's talk about Bobby Fong for a minute. Greg, he won here last year. He made an outside pass in turn 3 that we all saw that was pretty incredible. So Bobby obviously loves Brainerd.
He does, and he's a busy man. He's got Superbike to contend with. He works for Dainese as track support for anybody who's supported by Dainese. AGV, Bobby's working, and he is balancing it all, and he's doing it from the front, and it's impressive. The Sacramento Mile, of course, Bobby Fong coming from the Northern California, and the talent level for him in the dirt track arena is unparalleled.
But it's pretty cool, you got to say, for Dainese to let this guy come and actually work at the track.
Yes.
He is servicing and he's doing all the things. If you're a Dainese rider, you're going to go talk to Bobby Fong. He's got a canopy set up out there. And then it's like, okay, can you guys come back in an hour? I got to go do something real quick out on the track.
Yeah.
And see if I can try to go win a race. And I'll be back to you afterwards. So for Bobby Fong, you know, what a job he must have to be able to work for Dainese and then still ride a super bike for Dave Anthony, and then he's riding this bike here for Roland Sands.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you want to go try to find guys like Rispoli and Gillum and you know, Wyman and O'Hara, they have big semis that they can hang out in between sessions as the #1 plate goes up the inside of Rispoli. So that fight from Tyler O'Hara, Rispoli trying to go up the inside. He's going to try to square the corner off, takes a look over his shoulder. And you can tell from the shadows on the track that O'Hara's got position on Rispoli.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a hard pass for James to make back on Tyler O'Hara. It's probably going to have to come in that same kind of spot. You saw him do it earlier in turn 12, so Rispoli is going to have to try to clean up 11 as best he can, get through there as fast as he can to pull up alongside of that Indian. But I think O'Hara has a little bit more motorcycle underneath him at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like Rispoli's Vance and Hines machine is just kind of sitting on top of the asphalt, not really digging in like the factory Indian is at the moment. He's going to give it a go. We know Hog Spoli, but right now it looks like O'Hara's got the best of him with just about, we got about a lap to go in this one.
Yeah, a lap and a quarter to go. And this is the spot where he was able to get it close enough to get up underneath O'Hara. Look, O'Hara blocked that move. There was no way that he was going to let James do what he did to him earlier. Now O'Hara's going to be in full close the door mode in the next lap here to try to preserve this podium spot that he wasn't able to get on yesterday. So it's a good rebound for the factory Indian team and Tyler O'Hara if they can find a way to get that bike on the podium.
Final lap, white flag flies with Bobby Fong 2 seconds adrift of Hayden Gillum, and then this final battle for the podium spot between Tyler O'Hara, running the #1 plate, last year's champ, and James Rispoli, who's starting off this run was only 2 points behind Kyle Wyman, who's behind him in 5th. By the way, 4th to 5th is 2 points. So if it finishes like this for Rispoli, they'll be tied, but it could be Hayden Gillum who pole vaults himself to the top of the leaderboard in terms of points for the battle for the championship. Rispoli not close enough now to make any moves, but the Indian looks so much more hooked up.
Yeah, it looks a little bit better at this stage of the race for sure, and I've definitely noticed with that Indian, and it's a little bit of the way this track is, it hasn't been backing in quite as much. I know they've been trying to make some improvements on that motorcycle to try to get it to where it's a little bit more in line, and they know the things that they got to continue to work on. But for this guy, Bobby Fong, he doesn't care. He's out front. He's done a nice job of being able to slam these laps, and this Hayden Gillum goes his personal best second sector, but it's just too much, Greg. 2-second lead now for Bobby Fong as he goes through with about 2 corners to go.
All smiles for Roland Sands on the Sacramento Mile SCI Racing Roland Sands Indian Challenger. Fong has a look behind him through turn number 12 and one more corner to negotiate for Bobby Fong. Here he comes onto the front straightaway, looks over his shoulder, and it's got to be Bobby Fong with victory in Mission King of the Baggers. Race number 2, Hayden Gillum in 2nd. Tyler O'Hara will be 3rd, and here comes Rispoli as we await the 33. Just off in the distance, Kyle Wyman will come across the line in 5th spot. What a run by Bobby Fong. Controlled the pace. Hayden Gillum pushed as hard as he could. Gillum doing the fastest lap of his race on the last lap. Couldn't get it done because here's the race pace, that 35.484 on lap number 6 for Bobby Fong, the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that consistency in the 35s, that's what really was the key for him there. And he's coming off a great Superbike ride earlier today, and for him to be able to come back and win the race, you know, he had to get changed out of those other leathers and get into these ones as quick as he could.
We'll talk to Bobby Fong when we get back to Brainerd International Raceway about how he got the job done.
Mission King of the Baggers coverage is brought to you by Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By Geico. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson and custom V-twin motorcycles.
Bobby Fong's roll into victory lane to celebrate with his team after an outstanding win. Great motorcycle control too. Watching him slide that motorcycle around. Confirmation of those results. 1.5 seconds over Hayden Gillum. Like I mentioned, fastest lap of his race, the last lap. Kyle Wyman did the same thing, fastest lap of his race on the last lap, but still 12 seconds adrift of James Rispoli, Nick Williams, Jake Lewis, Corey West, and Kyle Onsor. Hannah's with our winner right now.
Following up yesterday's performance with a victory and his second here at Brainerd, Bobby Fong finally got some clear track ahead of you, and you dominated that race in such style. Tell us how you did it.
Man, it was a good race. This thing's handling like a dream, like I said yesterday, and we haven't touched too much this weekend. My crew, Cameron, Robert, Dino, Steve, everybody, Joe, man, they've been working their butts off in this SDI Roland Sands Indian. It's been a pleasure to ride, and we're a little smoked after the Superbike race, but we'll take the W and look forward to Coda in a few weeks. Yeah.
Very busy weekend for Bobby Fong, but ending it on a high note. Second place today is Hayden Gillum. Hayden, a 1-2 finish for you on the weekend and a very busy weekend, 6 races and the challenge. How are you feeling right now?
I feel good. Being on the podium is always an awesome feeling, and yeah, this one, I wanted to try and go with Bobby, but having to start on the second row kind of hurt me a little bit. So getting that penalty for this race definitely hurt the chances. But the Vans and Hines guys gave me a freaking awesome bike. So this is one of my favorite tracks for sure. On the podium in 4 out of 6 races, not including the bagger challenge. But yeah, so this is really good. Thanks for the team, and thanks for Ricky and Steve and all the whole crew for working their butts off.
Congratulations, Hayden Gillum, your second place finisher for Mission King of the Baggers, guys.
What a busy weekend. And let's take a look at these standings. And for his efforts, Hayden Gillum stands on top of the points. He's 3 over Kyle Wyman and 3 over his teammate James Rispoli. So he'll get to sit on that as he, I don't know, he's got to eat like a tire pizza, a couple cheeseburgers, and really,
calories back in.
We're back at Brainerd International Raceway, the conclusion of the Mission King of the Baggers Race 2. So, Jason, here's some highlights.
Here we go, Greg. Bobby Fong did exactly what he needed to do. He got off to a good start, led through turn 3, put his head down as he goes. Tyler O'Hara did try getting underneath him in turn 4, wasn't able to do that. James Rispoli was making some moves early. He went up underneath Tyler O'Hara, only to have that repaid back to him a couple laps later. But Bobby Fong cruising out front, just running fast lap after fast lap. The consistency in those lap times are what paid off. Hayden Gillum coming from the second row and is your new points leader. All in all, a great weekend for him on that Vance & Hines Harley-Davidson.
So they're going to enjoy the spoils of the podium as Bobby Fong able to get his second of the season and second here at Brainerd International Raceway. We certainly hope you enjoyed the coverage of Mission King of the Baggers. For Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg. We can't wait to see you at Circuit of the Americas coming up soon.